At Firehouse Subs, a portion of every purchase helps provide life-saving equipment to first responders. We make our subs differently because our subs make a difference. Like our Italian sub, piled high with Genoa salami, pepperoni, and Virginia honey ham. Or our Firehouse meatball sub with zesty marinara, both with melted provolone and Italian seasoning. Your choice, just $6.99 each for a medium, and only for a limited time at Firehouse Subs. Tap the banner now to start your order.
People say I ain't no good, and I'm crazy as a loon. Cause I shave my head in the morning, and pick guitar in the afternoon. Just like old Chief and Charlie, I like to lay around in the shade. Well, I ain't got no money, but you better believe I got it made. Cause I ain't asking nobody for nothing if I can't get it on my own. If you don't like the way I'm living, just leave this bald-headed country boy alone.
What's up, folks? Thank y'all for tuning into the Josh Terry podcast. Hey, I want to start off this show by telling you about some of our new sponsors. Global Net Insurance Agency, Mr. Dusty Lewis over in Eastman, Georgia. You can reach him right now at 478-374-7977. This is who I got insurance with, folks. Mr. Dusty has took care of me for an extremely long time. Even when I'm late on my insurance, I can message him on Facebook. He always takes care of me, and his staff there are just awesome over at Global Net. So please do me a favor. Y'all reach out to them now and tell them that I sent you. Here's another new one for y'all. Lori's Dive-In. She feeds me quite regularly. She's over in Alamo, Georgia. She has brought me everything from this amazing chicken salad to these Philly cheesesteaks. Dude, I'm telling you, they're just really, really good. Full menu on site. They cater. They do carry out. Just really cool family atmosphere. Every time I've been there or they've brought me stuff, you just can't beat it. And the price is really good. And Miss Lori is just awesome. Thank y'all for becoming a sponsor on the show. I'm always excited when somebody that I went to school with turns out to be successful and is doing well for themselves. Shout out to Mr. Dustin Smith, Dr. Dustin Smith, and owner of Middle Georgia Total Health Center. He's my chiropractor. I'm always standing up tall. I'm always feeling good, and it's because of this guy. He's got an office in Eastman at 285 Plaza Ave, and he also has a location at 126 North 2nd Street in Cochran. You can call his Eastman office at 478-6011 or the Cochran office at 478-934-8801. Look them up on Facebook at Middle Georgia Total Health or email them midgatotalhealth@gmail.com. Go check out Dr. Smith and all of his staff. He's going to get you feeling right. You're not going to be disappointed you go get Mr. Smith's hands on you. I told y'all the other day about my guy over at Oxley Performance Computers. Matt Oxley has took care of all of our computer needs. He's got me set up with a whole new PC. My soundboard, my everything is running way better. I did not know how bad off I was just getting something from Best Buy. This dude has hooked me up to where my laptop's better, my desktop's better, everything that I needed, he hooked me up with, and he did it for a damn good price. Y'all go check out Matt Oxley at Oxley Performance Computers and here's his website at oxleypc.com. That's where you can find him at on Facebook as well. Go look my dude up and tell him to hook you up. I told y'all we had several new sponsors on the show, and right here is the last one. So y'all hold tight, and then we're going to roll into the show. This one right here is why I've been looking so damn good, though. Miss Reagan Rise Fitness. She helps men and women lose fat and build muscle. She customized nutrition and training plans. Workouts can be done in the gym or at home. She has hooked me up, told me what to eat, told me how much to eat, and also gave me a workout plan that doesn't hurt my body. You can find her at Facebook at Reagan, that's Raegan, last name Milholen, and her IG, RaeganARISE Fitness. Go check her out. Tell her I sent you.
And last but not least, and I'm very excited to tell y'all about this lady, Miss Jessica Wolf over at Lovely Lotus. Lovely Lotus is probably about to start making all of our shirts, hats, cups, pins, etc., etc., etc. You can get in touch with her through any of her social media. Just look up Lovely Lotus. She made a bunch of stuff for me, a couple sample things or whatever, because we've had problems getting the merchandise and the stuff that we wanted. And I'm telling y'all, just go to my Facebook and look up Jessica Wolf and Lovely Lotus. Check her out now, because the stuff that she sent me, jam up. I absolutely love it. And from now on, I imagine this lovely young lady is going to be the person that's doing our gear. So check her out, Jessica Wolf, Lovely Lotus. Now, let's see who today's guests are. Thank y'all for listening to the Josh Terry Podcast, brought to you by Raising Grace Studios. Thank you to all the sponsors. In Nashville, recording a show, and I am excited about this one. You got like a real badass with me today. I usually don't say that folks can hang with me as far as a good time goes, but this fella has put me to shame several times up here already. Mr. Bobby Pinson, thank you for letting me into this place, Seagale, and I am saying that right.
You are.
Okay, I usually fuck up words.
Right.
So I just want to make sure I didn't mess up this place.
You've never fucked up an F-bomb. You've nailed every one.
Those are easy for me. It's the ones when you gotta. I just don't understand how some words are said. I'm dyslexic anyway.
Right.
And so some shit don't make sense to me when I see
so
it.
You go around cuff.
Yeah.
Cuff.
I might as well, to be honest with you.
Mother cover.
I very much appreciate you doing this with me. You got some good stuff coming out. We're going to get that soon. But every time I'm around any of my friends up here, your name always comes up. And then in the past 2 months, I've actually got to meet you, hang out with you and everything. And I just appreciate letting me drink a couple beers with you and talk some shit with you, man.
That's easy stuff. Absolutely. Well, I love to drink and I love to shoot the shit, so you're in the right spot.
Yeah, man, I've had a good time, except when I got locked out your studio that
right.
one night. That was about the only time.
You almost locked us out today, so you got a thing for it. No, you don't have keys, and it requires them. So I didn't have my keys, and I went out chasing you over some parking, and I turned around. I was like, I think I just locked us out, but we lucked out. But usually when you're over here, it might be a little later in the evening, so to speak, after we're not allowed to be anywhere else after 2 a.m. So that door gets a little tricky the later the evening goes.
Well, the sun was coming up when I got locked out. It wasn't going down.
Yeah, the answer's in the question there, buddy.
So I guess I want to start with you coming to Nashville originally, because you've been up here a while now,
long time,
and everything. Dustin Heron actually showed me your first video.
Oh yeah, I was skinny with muscles back then.
Yeah,
I ate that guy. He tasted like
I think
bacon
you look
and Crown.
way better now, to be honest with you. I didn't recognize you.
There's more of me to love. Well, I say I hadn't gotten fat. I just swell up when I get nervous.
I think you got the same problem.
Right. I didn't realize I was this nervous. No, I've been here a long time. Been about 25 years. Everybody says, where are you from? And I say, at this point, I'm from here again. I've been here long enough. And I've lived my whole adult life here. And it's a great town to do that. I've known a lot of these guys that I write with and peers and artists that I work with. We've known each other longer. We've known our own kids, and it puts it in perspective that it is a home. I didn't have a lot of roots. My dad was this old... I have roots. I'm rooted in who I am as a person, and who, moving around is still its own set of roots, and it kind of builds your soul that way. But I didn't grow up in the town, live on a piece of land that my grandparents owned that they're going to pass down, and my grandkids have one. I didn't have that. My dad's a football coach, a good football coach in Texas, moves around a lot, and a bad one moves around a lot, and a good one moves around every year, you know, as they're making that climb. So I went to 4 different high schools, and I think in doing so, it kind of set me up for really appreciating this town and being able to come here and just kind of be insignificant long enough to get my stance widened and kind of figure out what I was doing, you know. And I think I attribute a lot of that to moving around and not really ever having the roots and just moving to a new town going, I got to like me if nobody else does. And I didn't really realize how important that was going to be, because that's the name of this town. It's not about who can sing or who can write or who can, wear their own ball hat and wear their own merch or dance or do a TikTok. It's about who can come here and spend 5 years and be insignificant, who can last the longest being nothing while they're trying to figure out how to be something and figure out what their brand of the something is, you know. And that's the hardest part. That's even that's med school.
To become genuine is what you're saying, being comfortable being who you are.
Yeah, because in order to be genuine, you got to be ingenuine, right? You got to figure out, you got to figure out what wrong is to know what right is, and I think it finds you. I think if you look for it, you're just looking at pieces that everybody else has dropped. But if you're really figuring out what you are and learning how to not chase what it is, because it's a cyclical thing, right? Music moves around. What matters to people moves around. But at the end of the day, what makes people call people hadn't changed. You know, what's changed is who's making the music, who's singing the music, who's trying to write the songs. And if you start chasing all of that, you know, when it starts chasing you, you won't be there. So I just kind of do what I do, stay where I am, write my brand of music, and live my brand of life, and let God take care of the rest. You know?
Dude, I love that. I lived a long part of my life trying to make everybody else comfortable, and it made me so uncomfortable.
Sure.
And that's for the past probably 7 years. Probably about the time I hit 28. I'll be 35 this year. I just at some point in time said I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. Like, I wanted to be the authentic version of myself. If it ran people off, if it aggravated folks, I didn't want to just fit in anymore. I got tired of trying to just be like everybody else.
Well, you know, if you can't find the party, you are the party, and that's kind of the way I've never been the guy to call around, hey, what are we doing? What's everybody doing? What's everybody doing? I just kind of do my thing, and it's not always, you know, what everybody else would want to do, but that's what makes it unique. You know, I dated this girl one time. Dates are loose usage, but anyway, she was hotter. She was hotter in Grandma's house, and so just full of joy. But you never met anybody that was so full of joy that didn't keep any for herself. You know, it's like she was so caught up in what was supposed to be happy, or, you know, what was going to make other people happy, and what she thought happy was, versus just, you know, happiness is not having to look for happiness, and that makes me happy, you know.
Yeah, when you figure out that you can just make yourself happy and you don't need anybody else. Yeah, I love that. We just went to the beach not long ago.
That's actually masturbation. That's
same thing. We just went to the beach not long ago, and all my friends they got caught up doing just shit all the time. Like, they just wanted to be on the go. I ended up just sitting by the pool most of the time with Keith Whitley playing on the speaker with a bottle of liquor, and was just as happy as hell. And they complained most of the time because they're like, you could have done this at home. Right. And I was like, well, hell, I'd have been happy there doing it too. Yeah. I'm going to make myself happy. I don't have to go with the trend. I don't have to go with the flow of anything. And you're right. When you can make yourself happy and everything, it's the best.
Years ago, when I was first making music and I was on that climb that a lot of the young kids are doing now, you know, that I'm helping, when I was in their position, when I was doing it at 22, 23, 24, you know, it's just such a drinking town. And when you're out co-drinking with your co-writers and trying to figure out your thing, you know, you're always just you're trying to figure out how to fit in and how to do. And for me, moving around a lot, literally I just moved to town with my sister and myself and my parents, and all we knew was each other and ourselves, you know. And I think the more you know about yourself, the less they can tell you who you are. And that's a blessing and a curse in this town, because these people get paid a lot of money to tell you who you're supposed to be. So you can obviously alienate's probably a little big, but you can definitely not be right down the middle or down the pike or what they're looking for just by having your own opinion. Because having your own opinion, it's not a cuss word in this town, but it certainly is. You know, I got this sign on my head that says, don't bullshit me. You can't see it until you're trying to bullshit me. And then it's like, you just know I'm not going to bullshit this guy. And I think that's awesome. I think that's what I teach my family and my son, you know. But at the same time, it's made it tougher for me over the years of just not really allowing for the bullshit, you know.
I think that me and you would get along a lot more now that we're having this conversation, because one of the things that when my buddies and me are talking about music and the ones that are trying to make it and everything, and they ask my opinion on a lot of stuff. I don't know why the hell they ask my opinion. Ain't like I can sing or anything, but they know I'm going to give them a straight-ass answer.
That's why.
And I like people that chase legacy and not money. I want my friends to try to have an all-time song, not a paycheck, if that makes sense. Like I love the Merle Haggards of the world, the George Jones, the Keith Whitleys. And when you sit here and you listen to actually things about them and not their music, especially Jones and Whitley, they didn't care.
Right.
Like they were doing it because they loved it. They were trying to leave a mark. They were trying to leave a legacy. They wanted to be more than just a number one. They were putting their art out there. They were poets in a sense. And I respect that more about people than just trying to make a dollar. And that kind of sounds like what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you're either in this town, we're full of creative people, full of passionate people. Even the ones of us that are not where they need to be yet are still better than the ones that are never going to be that good, right? So there's just, everybody's good. There's different levels of good. There's different things they're good at, but everybody's good. But, you know, when you look to your left and you look to your right, you go, are you the water or are you the well? You know, I want to be the well. I want to be where it's coming from, not what I got out of it, not what I just passed around for a minute for 15 minutes of fame. You know, and granted, I only had less than 15 minutes. I like 15 seconds of fame. But I went out the way I wanted to go, which was on some really good songs, you know, and slipped into songwriter mode. And everybody says, how do you become a songwriter? I'm like, that's really easy, man. Just get a record deal, because that's easy. And piss your record label off, and, you know, poof, you're a songwriter. Yeah, ta-da. But, so, yeah, I was actually an artist for about 12 years, but only street legal for about a year and a half. And then just went into writing songs, you know. Same guy doing all the different things. And you know, and I've watched myself change over, like, some of the kids that I laugh at now. I laugh at them because They're
doing the same thing you were doing 25 years ago.
And they think it's different because it's new to them. It's not new, you know. It's like we've all been idiots. We've all thought it was this and it was that, and thought it was that and it's this, and just gotten it wrong. And I mean, how do you know if it's right if you don't get it wrong? And I definitely, when it comes to getting things wrong and figuring out what right is, I would say I'm an expert in that. Just in general fuck-upperty, you know.
Hey, it makes us better, though. Like, if we didn't know how bad it hurt to lose, we wouldn't know how good it felt to win, right?
That's right.
Like, we've got to. I think my failures, I've learned more from my failures than I've ever learned from actually succeeding at something.
Right.
Like, I hate that I've been down some rocky roads. I hate that when I was younger, I was in jail. I was a piece of shit from the ages of 18 to 21.
Right.
I hate that when I was young, I used to like writing poetry. I was good at it. Got some poems that was published in Young Poetry or Young Poets of America, and got picked on in school because of it, and I quit writing. And I hate going back at it that I let all those things, those failures, I should have kept trying to grow and not just letting people knock me down. I should have kept moving up, is I guess what I'm trying to say. And I didn't get that attitude until a couple years ago. And I see folks around here now that just keep getting knocked down, and folks that are just going along with the flow and everything. And I don't know.
You know, it's changed so drastically in what they have to do now, what they don't have to do, what constitutes a success. That's a big change. You know, there was only a couple of ways to have success or to even afford to be able to stay in this town back in the day. Now you can have a hit, nobody knows it. You know, it's just, except for the people that made it a hit. There's just so many different things, but the one thing that has always stayed the same is that if you be true to yourself, regardless of what good or what bad happens, it's you that's going to experience that good or that bad, or have to get through the bad to go to the good. And it's not some version of yourself that you wish you weren't if you could have just changed this. I mean, we all have regrets. We all have look backs. We all have, you know, man, boy, if I knew what I knew now back then, I could have skipped that car crash, right? And that's just life. That's not music. That's anybody's job. But in this town, you know, it's such a difficult town, and it's not difficult because it's hard to write songs, because you can teach structure, you can teach the do's and don'ts, you can listen to the radio and know every day there's some example of something that someone's written that's working. So you listen to that. Unfortunately, that sometimes gives a lot of false information to people, and they start chasing things that are working. Again, if you start chasing it, you won't be there when it starts chasing you. One thing that's always rung true to me is just being true to the song. Just tell the truth. When in doubt, tell the truth,
I love that. I do. Well, I think, too, how you said that, I guess back in the day, the only way to define success was like, I guess, a number one. Now you got a bunch of different ways. I wish folks would just like find success in themselves. Whatever it means to you. I got it like Lee and them. They just wrote something and he sent me a text message after they did it. And it was something that he had been trying to write for a long time. Whether anybody ever hears it or not. Sure. He was proud of himself that he had accomplished something. That's success to me. Like, sure. There's certain times that I do something that whether anybody else ever figures out that I did it or not, it's successful to me. I hate that, I guess numbers or whatever is what a lot of folks chase up here. And they want like a number one, or they want so many streams, or they want so many downloads or whatever. I wish they would just stay true to the music.
Well, I'll tell you why they don't. And it makes sense to me why it doesn't always happen. And I'm with you. We kind of have to want in one hand and shit in the other when it comes to, I wish we could just make our music and be happy, because we have to feed families, right?
Yeah.
I always say I have to write my crappy songs to form a good song habit, because I still have to stay in this town.
Yeah.
And so the key to winning in this town is staying in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are better than me over the years have moved home. You know what I mean? And they're texting me, hey, congratulations on your new song. It's, to me, we're not afforded the luxury of just saying, I just want to write what I want to write, and I don't care if anybody likes it. You have to operate from that standpoint. Yeah. But we don't get to do it every day and expect that we're going to, there are rules, there are things that we have to apply to our art. It's art meets commerce. Otherwise, it's just art, and you can buy art and hang it on your wall. I have songs that are art. My records are art. That's what I get out of this. That's what I give back to myself. But I don't use that or have visions of grandeur that I'm going to be able to do that and make a lot of money. Now, you mentioned a song that I've got coming out here next week called The Shave, and that is a thing where that is primarily just something I needed to hear myself sing.
Way.
Thank you.
Oh, I love it.
And if it ever, finds its way to someone, that's great, because I know when it does, it's going to heal them. It's going to hurt them enough to heal them. It's going to make them call somebody. That I get out of it, but I couldn't do a steady diet of just that, because those don't typically make the money, those personal songs.
I hate they don't, though.
And it would be great if they did, I do think that you write a great song before you write a great commercial. You write a great song before you write a good one. Meaning, this is a town of good songs, and then every now and then you get a great song, but it's the guy doing both. Good song. Because a song that's so great, a song like The Shave, it kind of bogs down or has a tendency to bog down in its own ambition. It doesn't skate across the top. It doesn't make it to the radio where they can play it 8 times a day. And I hear what you're saying, that that's not necessarily your measure of success, or you wish it wasn't the measure of success. And it's becoming less and less as radio starts having less of a role in how people are consuming music. I know that's a big buzz topic, but it's the truth. Look around. I don't know how much longer it's going to go.
Terrestrial radio's dead.
It's on its way. Yeah. It's definitely life support. It's breathing through its mouth for sure. And a lot of that is for things that have happened, and how expensive it is to get to radio. That's its own game, and it's become less and less that radio has less significance on the new artist. Radio is putting less spins to the new artist. Record labels are pouring less and less money to the radio tours because they can make a lot more money. They have a higher profit margin on the streaming, and that's how people. It's terrible for songwriters, which is a whole nother bottle of whiskey. But it definitely is changed the game.
I think they quit listening to the listener as well, what they wanted to hear.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I think that went out the door a long time ago.
And I could sit here and say enough bad stuff about that situation to never eat lunch in this town again. So I won't, just because I love to eat. But I think you're going to see more and more people becoming their own DJ, which means you're going to have more people become their own rock band, their own artist, their own whatever. I've been out of the music making, not the songwriting, but the actual making records for 16, 17 years, right, and touring. Now a guy can actually reach some people through, guys like you and through streaming and just through different portals into the world, and there's listeners there because people as consumers are tired of the way that music has been consumed. So now they can literally do their own thing, and it gives those of us that are not the Morgan Wallens, that are not the Cody Johnsons, that are not the top of the chart Luke Bryan guys, the guys that are just writing songs that still think we could touch somebody with them. I think there's more avenues for us now.
Well, you would see it when I worked in radio, and you would have like the request line. It would always amaze me. You would have somebody like me being in South Georgia. Everyone loves Jamie Johnson. Mm-hmm. Everyone. And you would get more requests for a Jamie Johnson, for a Randy Houser, for somebody like that. And radio don't even have it in the catalog or whatever to be played that day. And then you're told as a DJ, you can't play this. And it just never made sense to me that they just literally, the listener's telling you what they want to hear. There's so many requests for these things. And I guess Shave is why I'm saying that, because that song reminds me of their music.
Sure.
And I just don't see where the disconnect is. I mean, I understand why there's a disconnect, obviously, but I just wish they would listen.
It's interesting because college kids have always been college kids. College kids have always been anti-machine, anti-ghost in the machine, anti-doing what everybody else does, the mainstream. They go find their eclectic stuff. I mean, Green Day on, right? I mean, they've always – college kids have made superstars out of people that radio wasn't making in the pop world, in the rock world, not necessarily in the country world, except for in the outlaw world. It wasn't so much that the college kids were discovering it. It was just the people that, didn't gravitate towards traditionally commercial music. Now, a lot of that music is considered to be so bad by the listener that, my dad is gone, but before he was gone, he quit listening to radio. I want to write a song that the 60-year-old men, want, and that's not what this town's built on. This town's built on what's a 17-year-old girl want.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to know what's the guy listening to that's as smart as my dad that taught me everything I need to know to be hopefully half the man he was. Those guys, what are they listening to? What do they want? And I know they don't buy the records. I know, but we're just talking about music. We're not talking about we're talking about the art side, not the commerce side. The commerce side, 17 to 23-year-old girls, are moving the needle monetarily. Well, I didn't have anything to do with 17, 23-year-old girls when I was 17 to 23.
Exactly. Same.
So I just, it's not my thing. If they hear something that I'm a part of, that I've written for someone or that I'm doing myself, that they like, great. But I think pointing your direction and really specifically going after somebody is where people mess up, I get a lot of kids that are coming in, and I am the old school guy, and I'm trying to be less and less of that and try to listen to them, and because there's a lot of good ideas too, but it's not necessarily what I know to be country music. So it's just trying to figure out how to make that work, because you're only as young as your co-writers, you know what I mean? You're only as old as your youngest co-writer. And so to stay in this town, here I am, 50 years old, writing songs for 23-year-olds, that have never been in a car wreck, never had a girlfriend, never had to pay a bill, never got kicked out of an apartment, never been in a truck wreck, never been in jail, never had to have a girlfriend that they just broke up with, have to come and get out of jail, so now you got to be with her another 3 months because she got you out of jail. They haven't done that, right? Me either. But, it's just,
that makes one of us in this room.
Yeah, right.
I
get it. I mean, I might have told a little lie to however many people are listening to this thing. A lot. I just told several thousand lies. But, and then a lot of those kids, there's some old souls. I mean, we'll always have old souls coming to town. And, it's just different how music is made. It's different how it's consumed. what is considered to be good music, good listenable, consumable music is changed.
Yeah.
But what hasn't changed is people will consume what they love.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'll try to write songs I love, and if you don't love it, nobody else will either. You know.
Yeah. See, I have a problem with the term that some people. I love country music so much. Like, my family has just beat it into me from a small child. I love everything about what I consider country music. I almost get pissed when I hear a certain song and it's put into the country category. Like, there's certain things that they call country music now that I go back to, like, the outlaw stuff. Those songs will never be wrote again. And they're my faves. Like, they're literally. And then when you hear, especially, I know that you say that, and I know that by the statistics and everything, that the young girls are what pushes, whatever, the needle and everything. But I don't think that the people that I grew up idolizing would have gave a shit. And I know you don't really, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, I completely get it. But I just don't like that some of the stuff's called country. Like, it's just, it's not country to me anymore. And it bothers me that I still want to come to Nashville when I come up here, and I want some sawdust floors. I want a fucking honky tonk, you know?
Sure.
And it's so commercialized. It really is.
Yeah.
And I wish I could have been here in the 70s, you know, because I think I would have fit in a whole lot better then. Yeah.
Well, and you know, the thing about those artists, and here's how you know that they're true artists. In addition to them just, as you say, just kind of turning a blind eye to whoever's not looking at them, and just simply just doing their thing with their blinders on and what they like, and what the 4 or 5 or 6 friends, guys in their little group like, you know, the Highwaymen, the Outlaws. It's just like, it's not that they didn't care what anybody thought.
Yeah.
They just didn't care if somebody thought differently than them. But
Yeah.
the ones that thought, the like-minded ones that thought
Yeah.
like them, they were linked up. And those guys were stars in their own right. I mean,
Yeah.
they weren't outlaws. I mean, like some of these guys, they don't want to talk to media. They don't want to. I mean, Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings were in front of a camera every time you turned it on, because that was the only.
Hi, I've got a prescription for diabetes test strips. How much is the copay?
That could take me a while to calculate. In the meantime, you should think about over-the-counter Contour Next test strips. You get 35 for $19.99, and they're highly accurate. For full details, visit contournext.com/radio.
The media they had. Yeah. That was the only way they had, was their music and through the public appearances. You know, those guys were very commercial, like Snoop Dogg. I mean, Snoop Dogg is commercial as you get,
Absolutely.
but he's authentic.
Yeah.
So it's not, to me, so much about what's commercial and what's not, or what's hip and what's not, or what's, you know, what's real and what's fake. It's just what's authentic.
Yeah.
You know, I like some people better than I like Keith Urban. I like Keith Urban better than I like some people. You know, I don't, you know, I'm not going to pick up a guitar and sling it like Keith Urban and sing Keith Urban stuff and wear what he does and does what he does. But I can listen to his music and go, it's of Keith Urban.
Yeah.
Sounds like Keith Urban. And the same with Keith Urban as Willie Nelson or Waylon Jennings in this respect, that if you hear somebody trying to be Keith Urban, you know they're trying to be Keith Urban. If you hear somebody trying to be outlaw traditional country, oh, he's trying to be Waylon. That's how you know those guys were real acts, because it's a brand, and if you try to get anywhere close to it, you're a brand. You know what I mean? You can't fake Ford. You can't fake Chevy.
Until you just said that about Keith Urban, I was sitting here thinking, from where he started to where he's at now, it's the same sound. Like, it's literally, I can't think of anything where he's ever, like, turned a page or, like, changed it up or whatever.
Well, I mean, he had a more organic, grassy delivery when he was with the ranch, you know, but he still devised that music. The music was still of him. And, you know, if you go back and you listen to that stuff, it sounds like Keith Urban.
Yeah.
You know, and if a new kid comes along and he's a slinger and he's doing that kind of stuff, it's just going to sound like, okay, he's trying to pick up where Keith Urban is, you know. And that is kudos to those artists that are like that are such a strong brand, you know. I don't care if I like you or not. If your brand is right and you're true to your brand and you're molding yourself according to yourself and molding yourself according to responses of the people that like your music, and you keep giving those folks what they liked, not what you think they liked, but just serving. We're service. It's a service industry. You know, all the egos and all that, we're really dishwashers. You know what I mean? We're really waitresses of music. we're really, servers. That's what we're here for. And everybody takes themselves so seriously. We're background music while somebody's doing their dishes. You know what I mean? It's up to us to determine the quality of the dishwashing music. To me, I want that lyric to be as good as possible. And when you say you're a fan of the 70s stuff, I say I'm a fan of the lyric. Yeah. Like, I don't care if it was Shel Silverstein book, or if it was The Giving Tree, or if it was, Light in the Attic, or if it was, some passages he wrote for Playboy. It's like, I like Shel Silverstein. I understand his brain, right? So I want people to say that about me. I want people to like my brain.
Well, you're definitely not dishwasher music. I know what you meant, but definitely not.
Yeah. Well, what I mean is, that's where people consume the music on the way to work, right?
Yeah.
And so with that, a lot of times they don't want us to get too thick or too. And I know you disagree, as do I.
Yeah.
But I'm in this job of, if they don't hear it, it didn't happen.
Yeah, I get it.
So you got to figure out. Like I said, you'll write a great song before you'll write a good song before you write a great one, but you'll write a great song before you'll write a good commercial song. You know, and it's like a great song is stuff that probably the world doesn't want to hear. It's probably too much tear and too much.
If it don't make me cry,
yeah,
I don't want to damn near listen to it. If somebody gets in my truck, they're going to think I'm the most depressed person ever. I about don't listen to a happy song.
Right.
And it's not because I'm sad or anything. It's just because I love a story. I love the storytelling part of a song. When you said, I got the whole point you meant, like on the way to work or the background noise. I literally can sit there and one song, one line can change my whole mood, my whole day. I always judge a song by if it makes me want to drink or not. Like, when first time I heard you do Shave when we were here, I had to pour myself another drink. A song is going to affect certain people a certain way.
Sure.
And when you have a song like that or some other stuff that I've heard you play, I just think that they're so strong and they're so powerful. I wish more folks would do that more. I know what you mean by the good songs, and I guess it's just because I love music the way that I do, and I know the way the game's got to be played. But at the same time, it's hard to look at a song like that and the other things you do. Then you hear, I'm not going to name any songs, but you hear something that is just bland. You got a piece of prime ass rib over here, and then you got a McDonald's fish fillet over here. Sure. But I'm being force-fed this fish fillet.
Sure. I 100% get what you're saying, and I agree.
Yeah.
I don't, listen to as much radio as I probably need to because I'll write a song that somebody's got out,
Yeah.
I have to listen to just enough. But, again, it's not even knocking the genre. There's some really good singers. We have some really good singers. People always talk about the 90s. Well, it wasn't like the 90s was loaded with great singers. There was great singers, and then there was crappy singing. Everybody had a record deal. There was imprint labels all over the place. On every other house in this Music Row, was somebody had a real record out. But the difference was songwriters were writing those songs.
Yeah.
The artists were not writing a lot of those songs. Not 90% of the artists writing songs. It was more like 15-20% of the artists writing their songs or getting together with songwriters. And that game has changed. And when you change the expectations of the music, or you're not needing the quality of music, or you're not needing the skill level, when the skill level's not playing at radio, there's no really reason to go get these 50-year-old men that are the real Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, to go do it when you can have two kids out of college that, are 19 years old making electronic tracks, and it works. It's just the difference between the old and the new, and
I'm just never going to understand the new.
Sure.
And I'm more like, I guess I'm probably closer to that generation though. I will go out with friends. I brought some people here recently for the first time, and they had never seen a writer's room, and they wanted to just stay on Broadway the whole time. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to do that. There's like one or two people I will go to Broadway to watch them because they're real close friends. But besides that, I'm not going to Broadway.
and I took them to a writer's round. Their mind was blown, and it wasn't even like a big lineup or anything, but it was just the storytelling, the art. It was everything behind it. And I tried to convince these folks that you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. You're going to hear the same 30 songs at every single bar you go to. It's the same thing you can go listen to on radio right now. It's the same thing that you've heard for the 20-something plus years of your life. Give this a chance because this is going to be better. Like, and the second people like actually open up and take the time, they're scared of what they don't know. Like, I think that's most of what it is. They're scared of crying at a song. They're scared of getting wrapped up in the emotion of a song. I want to be wrapped up in it.
Sure.
If you don't touch me with your song, more than likely I'm not listening to it again.
Sure.
Like I like the fact that I love Dean Dillon. Mm-hmm. Like, I love that kind of stuff. I love Jason Isbell. Make me cry. Like, give me some type of emotion. I don't want to waste my time and energy on something that's going to not affect me if I'm listening to it.
Sure. And, you know, I 100% agree with that. That's where my heart is. That's what I get out of music. You know, when people say, what is your favorite song? I say, you probably have not heard it. You can ask me what's my favorite song that you've heard, and, you know, there's lots of choices.
What's your favorite song?
My favorite song is a song called One More Believer, and a song called Ford Fairlane, a song called Shadows of the Heartland. Those are all on my first record.
Yeah.
Man Like Me is probably my favorite off of that Man Like Me record. Is the title track. And I don't know if you've ever heard that song. But,
I haven't.
But Man Like Me, you should check it out. It's that whole first album is kind of what you're talking about as a listener's record. And I've had feedback. People say, well, it just made my head hurt. And people's, you know, their head hurts for enough reasons, on self-inflicted wounds to bad jobs to my wife is nagging on me, whatever. Heads hurt, right? Hearts hurt. So sometimes the music is a release. It's the comical, lighter side. It's just let somebody else pick the songs and let me see if I know it and let me sing along and let me get out of this car and go back to doing what I was doing. You know, and that's where the background music, you know, kind of thing happens. And a lot of people like that more levitated, you know, lyric, just the lighter laughter, smile, feel good, drunk on a boat, you know. If I'm drunk on a boat, I'm writing one of these songs we're talking about.
No shit.
So it's just what do you get out of the life you're living, right? And you can line up 8, you know, 22-year-old girls that have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're loving their life, you know, and to each their own. The thing that irks me, irk's a big word, way underused word. Irk.
Yeah, I love that word actually.
That's like stab or salve, you know. Juggernaut, way underused. But I guess what I love so much about the 90s is that you could have a Garth Brooks. You don't have to like Garth Brooks. You can like Hank Jr. He's right there too. You can like Clint Black. You can like Trisha Yearwood. You can like Pam Tillis. You know.
Oh, that's one of my faves.
All those different people. Lori Morgan. You know, Joe Diffie. All different. I didn't list one person there till you get into a John Michael that starts coming after the Garth thing, right? But I mean, all that first 10 artists that I listed had nothing to do with each other other than they were country music artists in a particular time. Now, we got the same artist listening to the same 100 songs to pick the 10 songs, and then whoever didn't get, and that batch of 10, that song gets pitched to somebody else right next to them. And, you know, we call it a pitchable song, but the reason a pitchable song is so pitchable is because you got one song that can fit 10 people. Well, you know, think about how many songs were like that when, you know, Roger Miller is not going to cut the same song as Waylon Jennings. I might write one for him, but it's just the kind of the gravitation of the world, and it is what it is. I don't know what the future music holds. I know what it holds for me. My tomorrow looks a lot like my yesterday. You know what I mean? So I'm not really chasing it like we've talked about this whole time. I just wake up every day and try to put either a piece of my pain or a piece of somebody else's pain into a song to promote happiness, not to promote pain. But, you know, shaving is not a the shave is not a tear-jerking song for the sake of being tear-jerking. Those tears are healing, right? Because this song is about you know, I got the call from my dad. Wasn't sure what day was going to be his last day, but I knew it was probably going to be next week. And I went in, and you know, it's this old West Texas cowboy, right? And he's just the toughest guy I know, and he's just not hard to love, but just hard, right? He's just brutally honest, prideful West Texas cowboy, and a football coach. I wanted to toilet paper my own house, you know, during football season. But I wrote the song about him. He's wanting me to shave him because he doesn't want to meet Jesus with a beard, essentially. And he's uncomfortable, and he's got the ventilator in. He can't talk. And if you've ever had anybody, you know, tell you they love you without words, it's pretty humbling experience, you know. And I'm kind of standing there watching my life flash before my dad's eyes, and I think that moment just kind of split my life into two. All the moments that I'd had before that, and all the moments that I'll have after the shave, you know. And I wrote this song specifically to help myself heal, and my dad and that whole situation is the device. But when I play that song, it could be a mama that lost their mother. It could be a guy that has nothing but daughters that's never taught a son to shave. He didn't know his dad. It just stands for loss. It represents loss, recovery, healing, finding the happiness in the moments that you had with somebody. Not about shaving. You know, that song's no more really about shaving than Rocky is about boxing. You know, and people are like, well, you mean Rocky's not about boxing? Hell no, Rocky's not about boxing. Rocky's about being the little guy that's the biggest. Rocky's about being the guy that didn't quit. Rocky's the guy having everything coming from nothing, right? And believing in himself. And I think a lot of those kinds of things have, you know, we all have to adopt. That's why everybody gravitates to Rockies, not because they love boxing, not because we're Italian. It's because, you know, not because we know where he grew up. It's just because Rocky stood for being better than you were supposed to be, right?
We've all been in that position one way or another.
And to me, that's what country music is.
Yeah.
Is you take your pain or your happiness or your questions that you can't answer, and you put them in a song form to hopefully maybe give somebody else some answers.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you this the first time you played it. I lost my papa, who's like my hero, Christmas morning. And then when you played that, I was still like in the, which I'm always going to be in that healing phase. Nobody, I guess, gets over stuff really. But, whoa.
Yeah, it never gets better, it gets a little less bad.
Yeah, that's right. It hit me. It hit me. It's one of those, man, that, whoa, I know. Ooh, I'm ready for everybody to hear it.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and you know,
you doing it.
Like I said, I've been out of making records for over 15 years, and I've got my first music that's coming out in over 15 years, which is exciting. And I think in order to do that, has been a process for me. I think it's taken just time to kind of quit being butthurt. You know, I came to town, had a record deal. I always thought songwriting was kind of the consolation prize of what I moved here to do, and that has become who I am, right? I mean, who I am is what made my songs, but also my songs have made who I am. It's kind of tit for tat there. And it took time and took this song, I think, for me to go, you know, I think I was going at this the wrong way. I think I was one of those guys that was chasing a number. I was doing it with real songs. I was doing it with real lyrics, but I was also trying to fit my square peg into the round hole, right? And now I'm just looking for square holes. Yeah. And that's
I think some
harder to find, but better once you find it.
I think some of us chase a reason sometimes, but I think sometimes that reason is us, you know.
Sure.
Like,
yeah. Can't put my finger on a day everything started to change, but I can still see my baby face in the bathroom mirror, just like yesterday, standing there somewhere in between a boy and a man about 13, razor in my hand and some Barbasol cream in a puddle in the sink. I still hear my daddy say, let's take our time, we ain't in no hurry. Just nice and slow, 'cause you don't get this day back. He said, I'm right here, son, ain't no need to worry. And he wiped my face with love and a warm wash rag. Said, look at that, it ain't a half bad shave. Well, fast forward a bunch of football games, a few truck wrecks, and a couple heartbreaks. Now I'm standing there with my own son, old as my dad when I was that young, watching a little boy disappear, smiling proud and fighting back tears like he did then when we were here. I heard me hear him say, let's take our time, we ain't in no hurry. Just nice and slow, you don't get this day back. Said, I'm right here, son, ain't no need to worry. And I wiped his face with love and a warm wash rag. Said, look at that, it ain't a half bad shave. Mm-hmm. 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 Well, fast forward a bunch of towns and a wife, most of the rest of my daddy's life. In a hospital bed, wasting away, he looked at me and pointed to his face, and a razor sitting on a slide-out tray. I picked it up like yesterday, last thing my daddy heard me say. Let's take our time, we ain't in no hurry. Just nice and slow, we don't get this day back. Said, I'm right here, Dad, ain't no need to worry. And I wiped his face with love and a warm wash rag. Said, look at that, ain't a half bad shave.
Whoa. Whoa. That one hurts. But it hurts good.
It's a good hurt.
It's a good hurt.
Well, you know, that's a song I needed to hear myself write, you know. Yeah. And there's things that in that song that are not formulated exactly the way you'd write the commercial song. That song does things that you don't do if you're trying to get this 3-minute and 15-second, you know, piece of fluff isn't the right word, but, you know, even my songs, I've tried to figure out how to get real lyrics into a fluffier configuration, and that's been a winning combination. This one doesn't follow as much as that, and this just kind of does its own thing. And that, the biggest risk is the biggest reward, and that's in anything, music or any job or any kind of goal that you're chasing. And, you know, this is risky from the sense that nobody would cut this song because there's not a personal attachment to it, right? I feel like if I was trying to cut the song, it wasn't about my situation, I'd feel like I was phoning it in on behalf of whoever wrote the song. So it was kind of doomed from a commercially pitchable aspect. Who knows? Somebody may hear it and want to sing it, and it might hit them, and I'm like, heck yes. But I feel like this was my story. I needed to tell it, and I wrote it by myself. And the truth is, God wrote this song, and I just kind of, you know, caught the words as they fell. And this is truly probably the favorite thing I've ever written. Yeah. You know, when you say what is my favorite song that you've heard, I wrote a song for Eric Church called Some of It. That is probably one of my favorite songs. I've written tons of songs for, you know, Toby Keith, got some great ones in there. And I've noticed in the last little bit, some of my brand is starting to come to the forefront a little bit. I wrote a song called Note to Self, which is a similar song to a song I had called Don't Ask Me How I Know as an artist, and also some of it. And they're all just what I call the letters to an unborn child, or the things in these songs could be letters to somebody, or if you didn't want to have to talk to somebody, you just wanted to write them a note, These are lyrics that you would put in those kinds of notes.
Funny story about Note to Self. So I posted it on social media. I did not know you were attached to it at all. Right. Didn't know anything about it. I heard that song. I was sitting at my studio back in Georgia and going through new music or whatever. I'm a big Randy Houser fan anyway. And I listened to this song, and it's one of those that just knocked me on my ass, right? I posted it on my Instagram story or whatever, and Little Skinny messages me, and he's like, "You know who wrote that, right?" And I was like, "No," because I hadn't looked up anything. He said, "Bobby wrote that." Yeah. And I was like, "Well, no shit." It just blew me away. That one is probably my favorite of Randy's now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. It was just
he sings the heck out of it.
Oh my God,
he's a sweetheart, and he's a guy that started on his commercial trail later than a 23-year-old, right? Yeah. So he's not really knocking it out of the park at radio. I don't know. Don't quote me on his age, but he was over 30 for sure. Mid-30s. And then, so about the time that really started rolling, now he's old school, right? Yeah. I mean, old school is more soul than age anyway. But he was chasing the radio thing. But in his hearts of hearts, it's things like Note to Self, and it's singing to a crowd. And that guy just can sing so great. But that's a prime example of not really knowing if we're having a hit or not, because that song is impacting. I had a song called Don't Ask Me How I Know. Well, that song to this day is a pretty recurrently played song, and it impacted like a number one song. It only went to like number 14, but it impacted like a number one song. Well, now because of the internet, because of the streaming, a lot of these songs are impacting people's lives, having the impact that a number one song would be having on them, or sometimes even more, because a lot of these number one songs today are not, quite frankly, impactful. They're just repetitious.
They all sound the same.
Well, I'm not gonna get too far down that road because I got a drink here, but but yes, I think what's crazy is that Note to Self now has just charted. It's like 45 or 44 or something this week, and it's taken a while to get there. And he's having some radio. I think he's going to get some radio play on it. But the song is impacting a lot heavier in the world than the chart position because of the internet. Well, we don't really get paid by that. We don't really track that. I don't really know what that is. But I can't say the words Note to Self and not have somebody know that song, right? Man. But typically, back in the day, if you said the title of a number 40 song, nobody cared. I just had a song die at 20 called Up. Right, and it's in that same brand. It's a lyrical thing. I never thought in a million years that song would only go to 20. It's just a different day and age. But it's one of those songs that back in the day, if you said I had a song went to 20, you were like, what's it called? I don't know if I heard that, because at 20 it's not really being heard a lot. But now we got a song number 44 in the country, and it's one of the most probably talked about songs in people's drinking time. That I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, it is constantly on repeat around me. It's I was blown away when I found out that you wrote it.
Well, there's a batch of songs like there's Note to Self, there's Don't Ask Me How I Know.
See, I haven't even heard that. Now I've got to look that up as soon as we get done.
Yeah, Don't Ask Me How I Know was a single that I had out. It was my hit song as an artist, and it's actually reviving a little bit here because as we get ready to break this new music for the Shave, people are starting to figure out who it is that's doing it, and he's the guy that sang Don't Ask Me How I Know, not Ask Me How I Know, not the Garth thing. This is, I don't know, 14, 15 years before that, but that thing still has not gone away. That song is still played a lot, and people love that song, and thought it was going to be re-recorded a couple times. I think it has been re-recorded, just hadn't been released, and I can't say who, but pretty excited to see that song live on, but when you go hear that song, it'll make sense that songs like that and One More Believer and Ford Fairlane, Shadows of the Heartland, Man Like Me, Note to Self, some of it, burning, man. I'm not just listening to all my songs, but there's certain ones that are very cohesive in the way the lyric is laid out, you know.
That's cool. Well, Mr. Bobby, I can't tell you how grateful I am for you doing the show and taking some time out of your schedule. I know you're busy.
I appreciate you having me, man. I didn't mean to talk your ear off.
No, I'm glad you did. Shit, this is one of my favorite shows I've done.
Awesome.
Man, is there anything else you want to plug before we get off here? Anything
I want to what?
Anything else you want to plug before we get off here?
Well, I do want to tell folks that I do have The Shave coming out that I just played. Comes out August 12th, and it's so funny because the streaming is so new to me, and all the kids are like, yeah, I'm streaming. To me, a stream is where you pee and fish, you know? And so I don't know anything about streaming and my new collection of work and all this. I'm laughing at these kids and streaming everywhere. And I'm like, I'm streaming on all platforms. I'm like, what does that mean, you know? And, of course, here I am now all this time later, and I've got a song coming out August 12th. It's streaming on all platforms, you know, but I'm excited about that. I'm going on tour with Aaron Lewis starting in October. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, when I got to meet him at the Creative Vets Golf Tournament and talk to him for a little bit, that dude is one of my I just always been like a huge fan of him, and he was just the nicest, coolest. He was everything that I wanted him to be. This will tickle the shit out of you, I think. There was a girl, when we was talking about like the younger generation a while ago, there was a girl that came up to him while we were in the taco line at the golf tournament, and is talking to him. She doesn't know who he is. And she is telling him, like, hey, I'm a songwriter, all this kind of stuff or whatever. She's plugging herself to Aaron Lewis. Mm-hmm. She has no idea who the hell he is. And she walks off or whatever after introducing herself, and he even says, I'm Aaron Lewis. She goes and sits down. About 20 minutes later, walks back up to him or whatever, and he's sitting there, not at the same table with us, but the caddy corner to us. And she just comes up and she's like, I am so sorry. I just made a complete ass out of myself to you. And he even just with a smile on his face, he's like, it's all right.
Yeah, you don't have to get mad about this stuff. Well, I was out somewhere. I was deer hunting or something, and I had walked into this lodge and left the door open, and and there was a bunch of doctors and lawyers, and I was kind of singing for my deer hunt. You know, I was out there playing. It was a big group, and this lady, she looks at me, and I'm covered in deer blood and camo, and I don't know if you can say that. I'm pretty sure I can say that.
Oh, you can say whatever you want to on this show.
And I walk in, I left the door open, and I said, hey, y'all, I just need to get something real quick. And she goes, young man, I don't know where you're from or how you were raised, but around here, we shut the door when we come indoors. Really talking down to me. So I walk out. I said, yes, ma'am. And I shut the door. Sorry about that. And I walk out. I come back in, and somebody has told her, you know, that's the guy that's going to play some songs for us later. You know, he was just getting in to get a hunting knife or whatever. She comes up to me, and she goes, well, apparently I've embarrassed myself. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize who you were. I said, why would that make a difference? She said, excuse me? I said, the only thing worse than somebody mean to you when they don't know who you are is someone nice to you once they figure it out.
That's even better. That's even damn better.
Man, thanks for having me.
Anytime, Mr. Bobby. Well, folks, tell them your Instagram, or do you know your social media?
I don't know. My name is Bobby Pinson.
Yeah,
and,
just look. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up.
Pinson. And I think there's a real Bobby Pinson.
That's what it is. Yeah. It's the real Bobby Pinson. Yeah. Look him up. Add him. Are you doing pre-saves yet?
Yep. Pre-save on August 5th. Can't believe I know that. This is the closest I'm ever going to be to being a teenage cheerleader right here.
I just want to make sure they listen to it and download it for you.
I appreciate it, man.
You're welcome,
Thank
boss. You. All right, folks. So make sure you do that. Thank you, Mr. Bobby. And folks, go listen to all his music, all of it. Download it all everything, back catalog, everything, and we will catch y'all next time.
Your favorite band's about to play a sold-out show, and you definitely got tickets. And drinks. Now hurry and make it back to your spot. Pass this person and that person, about 20 more. Ooh, watch out for feet.
Hey.
Just keep going. A little further. Oh, there's your friend.
Over here.
Right where you want to be. close enough to see the set list. And they're definitely playing your song. When you're with Amex, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. American Express. Don't live life without it.